Hello and welcome to today's Wisdom Wednesday on the Alter Health Podcast. I'm Dr. Susanna Alter,
And I'm Dr. Ben.
and we're both naturopathic doctors who empower individuals to heal themselves with whole food plant-based nutrition and mind-body medicine.
And as the title suggests today, we're talking about meditation and specifically why we don't meditate. And it's interesting, I don't know what your experience has been, Susanna, but a lot of people just assume that I do. Assume, it's like, oh, when you're
Mind-body medicine,
mind
meditation.
mind body medicine, or some people might even say like when you're meditating, just think about this and just see what comes to mind. And it's like I don't really meditate as the in the conventional understanding of sitting down and closing my eyes and focusing on breath or mantra or anything like that. That's not to say that I never do, but here we're talking about meditation as a practice, which I guess I don't even know. Susanna, have you ever had like a real meditation practice in your life?
No, honestly,
Oh, you never have.
in the
Okay.
past I've tried to get into meditation practices thinking that it would better myself. And I certainly have had other practices, other mindfulness practices that I've been, gotten into the rhythm of, like gratitude journaling and things like that, but never a strict, consistent meditation practice like
Is
you.
Yeah, okay. I just it's funny. I didn't even know that about you. I just kind of assumed that you did, because I know you've done like meditation
Yoga,
retreats, and I know you've had a yoga practice
lots of
where it's like a
yoga.
daily thing. But yeah, in my experience, I have had a strict, regimented meditation practice that I loved for years, and it was like maybe by outward appearance, like people would say that that's kind of intense, at least an hour a day, every day for probably like 4 or 5 years. And I felt like, I loved that, ritual. I loved that part of the day, usually first thing in the morning. And I felt in the end kind of attached to it. Like if I didn't have the right time and space to meditate, I felt like my whole day was kind of like gonna not be good. And it's like, and I just kind of had this insight. It was really when we started dating, and where I was kind of, sleeping at Susanna's house and like, hanging out with Susanna, and all my routine and regimented schedules kind of got thrown out the window for a little bit. And I was like, I'm not falling apart. Like things are still good. And someone with a meditation practice might say, "Oh, well, it's because you've been lifting all that weight and building that muscle of meditation for those years that now you're grounded in your life and you're able to like not meditate and still have the benefits of meditation." But fast forward a few years, and after gaining a little bit more insight and understanding of my experience, and I guess, it goes without saying that we're just kind of sharing from our experience, and by no means are we saying that you should stop your meditation practice, and this is why. But in my experience, I have come to recognize that my experience of mental clarity, health, peace, well being, creativity, wisdom, whatever you want to call it, is always dependent upon my internal state and not ever dependent on what's going on outside, including the state that I put myself in the outside world, such as a state of meditation or or a practice or a technique of breath work or something like that. That's not to say that breathing and meditation can strengthen the nervous system and kind of provide experiences for us in that way. But as we like to say, so does walking in nature, and so does cooking mindfully and eating mindfully and having a deep conversation with someone that you love, and playing with a child, or exercising, or reading a book. We can have
Or
that,
doing nothing.
or doing nothing, sitting on the couch, which a lot of us judge, or sleeping, lounging in bed. We can have that enlightening experience. We can have that strike of insight hit, regardless of where we're at. So that's kind of the ultimate freedom and focus that I have in my life
Mhm.
nowadays.
Yeah, and what we're saying here, like this can really be said for any practice. And where, what you just shared relates most to my experience in the past is with my, I would call it pretty strict yoga practice. For several years, I practiced yoga every single day. And I certainly had this story or this belief that my life just flowed better when I did yoga every day. And it's interesting how those kind of stories can be limiting, can actually bind us in certain activities in the day and create that rigidity. And also, really, the bigger thing, like what you're saying, Ben, is if we're solely really relying on a tool, an external tool or practice to connect with the truth of who we are, our authentic self, it can be easy to forget that that's always there 100% of the time. That we actually don't need these external things and tools to access that in any given moment.
That's probably the most important place to start. And I guess we kind of jumped ahead right off the get go. But and it comes up a lot of times when they're having these conversations around mind, thought, and consciousness and our innate well-being, which is, it's not just a concept. you know the peace and the love and the groundedness and the creativity and the wisdom that we have experienced, all of us at various points in our life, we've had that clear, deep connection at various points all throughout our life. And some of us just kind of, shrug it off. But that is our true nature. It's a lot of people say, oh, yeah, well, I had that experience when I was meditating. So I should meditate more to have more of those experiences. Or I had that experience when I was playing with my grandkids. So I should play with my grandkids more so that I can feel more of that. Or I had that experience when I was hiking in nature. So I should hike in nature more to have more of that experience. But as we like to remind ourselves, we can't blame the outside world again for causing our internal experience. We have to take responsibility. And that is taking responsibility for all the good stuff and the positive feelings and the enlightened experiences, and also taking responsibility for the quote unquote negative stuff. And and a lot of people like to blame so and so or such and such for the negativity, but like, oh yeah, I'm in control of my positive thinking. But the fact is, it's an unconditional, radical self responsibility for our experience. And for me, again, back to meditation, like what that means for me is, I'm not going to blame meditation when I feel good, or I'm not going to blame my lack of good feeling for a lack of meditation.
Mhm. Yeah, and as you were sharing that, Ben, I was chuckling because I was remembering how really, my practice of yoga started just one summer. I started doing it for exercise. And in one class, the teacher had us finish the class with 5 deep back bends. And I remember on the last back bend, I had this huge, I'd say maybe my first kind of big, like light bulb, aha moment where all of a sudden I just felt this rush of clarity. And I really felt like, whoa, like this yoga stuff is magical. And just like you said, Ben, I felt like it was in the heart openings. And I would I would go to yoga classes and try to recreate that experience. I would do the back bends, I would do whatever it is. And I was always somewhat disappointed because I was I realize now in hindsight, I was chasing that feeling of connectivity. I was chasing it, looking outside of myself for it. And because I was distracted in the search, we actually get further away from that feeling because we're attached to something. We're clouding our mind with more thoughts of, I want something that it's not here, and where do I find it, and how do I find it? And the more cluttered our mind is, the further we get away from who we are.
Kind of ironic. And of course, meditation teachers and people who have a practice might say, oh, well, that's, you just observe that thought,
attachment.
you observe that attachment, you recognize, you become aware of that. And you did become aware of that without a practice. And I think that's, another really important message, I guess, or important insight that I've had is that, like, we get what we need regardless of whether or not we're searching for it. And sometimes searching for it just obscures and keeps the things that we're looking for more deeply hidden from ourselves. um yeah, so of course it's kind of, it's like a fine balance, because um for sure I've had insights in the past few years where it's like I just really want to meditate. And I think it's important to bring up the, like, meditate. And I just really want to close my eyes. I just, like, I'm called to do that. I'm inspired to do that. Inspired to go for a walk without my cell phone and sit on a rock and, like, feel the breeze and the sunshine and hear the sounds. And I think that, we all are, like, inspired to do some of that in our world today, just because the screens and all the influx of information and our senses are overloaded by all of these kind of technological inputs that are, I guess, arguably really not natural or healthy to the extent that we receive them in today's world. So if we just tune into our natural, like, wisdom, our body's messages, our intuition, we will be guided to live a quote unquote mindful life. We will be guided to do that. We will have the insights and inspiration to take care of ourselves and keep ourselves balanced in these sort of ways. And we don't need to, therefore, rely upon any sort of rigidity or willpower to sit ourselves down every morning or every evening at this time for this duration. We will be taken care of because we are innately connected with that source of wisdom and inspiration that guides us to exactly what we need to do when we need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think the more trust that we have in that, the more we can really see that life does give us everything we need in terms of, the lessons to learn, in terms of, the aha moments. We don't have to go creating these situations where we can have more insights or find the answers more easily or find the peace more easily. We simply have those insights through living life, and we simply find what we need by listening to that intuition that's always there.
Yeah.
So
So of course there's this, I guess, long story short, like, the summarizing point here is that we live in a world where I think that there's this narrative, at least I've been exposed to it, that there's this narrative that we need to do work on ourselves in order to experience more of our true nature, or be more enlightened, or be more grounded or peaceful. We need to do something. We need to take some action and work on ourselves. And some of that might involve a meditation practice, or a this practice, or a that practice. But the ironic thing is, we also know that peace and love and compassion, again, I guess we're saying it for, like, the third or fourth time today, that is our true nature. So how can we do anything to experience more of what we already are? It's more of an undoing, right? It's more of a chipping away. And that is not an action that needs to be taken. That comes through insight and understanding. So put ourselves in the world and keep ourselves open to hear those insights, to have that understanding, to deepen in that knowing and that truth of who we are. I guess that's the take home message here.
yeah. I guess I want to say one more thing because, I've also heard from many people the argument too that, well, look at both of you. You have this history of doing some kind of practice. You
Right.
you had that kind of awakening moment where you saw that there was more to life than just, I don't know, the monotonous day-to-day stuff. Um, but what I
I'm
would
still waiting. I'm
say,
still waiting for my awakening moment.
well, of course, we're always
What does
all
that mean?
awakening. I don't know. But really, what I see when I look back at my whole journey is that wisdom was there all along, even before I was aware of it. And yeah, maybe wisdom did guide me to that yoga class for some exercise or whatever. And maybe that did help me have some, expanding experience that then got my curiosity going and all sorts of other topics and mind body stuff. Yeah, maybe so. But every single human being is connected to wisdom, to intuition,
Mm.
and their life journey guides them in their unique way to also expanding their awareness in whatever way is most supportive for them.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit windy, there might be a little bit more pain and suffering and struggling depending on who knows. Who knows? Every person's life is different. But yeah, so yes, I agree that yoga and meditation and everything can be a powerful tool to kind of, expand one's mind.
So what I hear you saying is that you've got this message also, like, don't compare yourself or and your journey, because it's like, you hear that other people might say, oh well, this the and other people might compare, like, oh, you've done this, so I should be doing this, or you did that, so I should be doing that.
Yeah, or
And
maybe, some people say, well, meditating's still a really good recommendation for most people because most people, don't have any kind of level of awareness. We might judge
yeah.
people in that way.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, exactly. And I would say to that, what's way more powerful than meditation is just tuning in, and like experiencing, at least for moment to moment, like a connection with wisdom, and just letting go of the attachment to those thoughts and shoulds, and that narrative, and just having a glimpse of the experience of what lies beneath and beyond the thought. And there we are connected with what's the guiding force in life, which might move us into a meditation practice for a period of time, might not. And there is no right and wrong way to live, let alone meditate. So yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Lovely.
on that note, just a quick reminder that our spring cleanse is starting in just a few days, and you're still invited to join. You can find out more at alter.health/cleanse. And also, Peace on Earth is a program, a weekly program. This is where we have conversations around the topics of mind, thought, consciousness, and brain body connection. And the idea of, or the topic of, meditation has come up various times for me in the last week or so. So I felt it kind of pertinent to share more in this context. So
Yeah.
always appreciative of the conversations had in Peace on Earth. And until next time, we'll see you on the next Alter Your Health podcast episode.
Bye for now.